Welcome back to the University of Life, uoflife.com, and this course, Unlock Your Potential, in which we're teaching you ways to become successful by getting out of your own way and reaching down to those inner things that block you and removing them so you can get on with living your best life and being awesome and being happy and relaxed and peaceful. And the topic of today's little discussion is one of the most pernicious, insidious, and very common, ubiquitous kind of feelings out there, and that is shame. Now, if you've listened to Brené Brown, for example, she's a shame researcher, and you understand a little bit about just how serious this is and how damning it is to your progress and your happiness, and about the way she talks about how it breaks connections between people. Because what Bradford, I think his name was, one of the earliest guys who kind of defined shame, psychologist, he says that shame is the idea that if people knew this thing about you, they would not love you and you would be rejected and separated and cut off. And therefore, as we are afraid and so we don't open up, we don't be a little more vulnerable, we don't reach out to people and expose ourselves in that way, then it kind of perpetuates itself. Whereas if we would open up and connect, we'd probably find that it's not so bad, and other people maybe have the same issues, and you know what, some people probably actually like you seriously, and accept you and everything. So here's a technique to help you get over that. And as you know, as big of a problem as shame is, as strong and powerful and controlling and emotional it is, it's amazing how simple this solution can be. So here I'm going to give it to you in 8 different steps, and I'd love for you to try them and let me know how it works for you in the comments below. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask there as well. So this is chapter 7.43, Shout Your Shame. One of the most intense and damaging types of fear is shame. Because you know what? All these things, they all come down to fear, anxiety, shame, whatever. It all comes down to fear. That's the common name for all these different types of fears. Shame means that on some level you fear that if people knew some particular thing about you, then they would abandon you, which is a very real fear for the subconscious mind. Very real. No need to be ashamed of having shame and being afraid of that. This is serious stuff to the brain and to your social safety and everything. So, all right, shame is rarely defeated by talking yourself out of it, defending yourself against its relentless accusations like you're not good enough, you suck, you're bad, which requires playing the game on shame's turf, where it has the home court advantage. So if you're saying, no, I am okay, you're also playing those thoughts that you're not okay, that you're not good enough, and you're strengthening those at the same time. So that's not the most effective place to fight shame. Instead, conquer shame by transcending, by rising above and denying that shameful thoughts and feelings have any validity in the first place. By the way, maybe you do have some real things to be ashamed of. If you can make amends, if you can improve something, by all means do it. We're not giving you a get out of jail free card here. What we're talking about is the illogical, illusion, exaggerated shame, which prevents you from making those improvements or other improvements and just basically enjoying your life. Just like other fears, shame can be relatively easy to address. You may start as small and safely as you like on the following continuum and proceed only as far as you wish. Repeat each step until it grows comfortable before moving on. So with number 1, we're going to start at the easiest level. Like, this is easy and safe, nothing bad can happen here. And then we'll move up to things that are a little bit more challenging, but can also be a lot more effective. So go as far as you want. Number 1, once you've identified your source of shame, so think of something. What are you ashamed of? What are you embarrassed of? What do you not want people to know about you that makes your heart constrict a little bit, or that you would not want to tell anyone? So once you've identified your source of shame, imagine, don't actually do it, just imagine confessing it out loud while driving alone in your car or anywhere no one can hear you. Do this until you feel comfortable. So go ahead and imagine saying it. No actual words are coming out of your house. The CIA is not, the FBI, the NSA, listening through Alexa and your Google device. They're never going to know this because you're just imagining this in your head, right? Maybe do it like it says here, driving along in the car, there's wind noise going around. You are totally safe. And then just imagine saying like, I cheated on my algebra exam. I hate my neighbor. I love my neighbor. Maybe that's a problem. Whatever it is that you feel shame about. And if you feel some shame, it's not going to feel comfortable at first. But don't be afraid of discomfort. When you apply these techniques, discomfort becomes temporary. So stand up to it, right? Show your strength, your force of choice and decision, and just keep imagining, repeating it until the edge melts off, till you burn through that crust of fear. And you realize, you know what, this is safe. I can imagine saying things all day long and nothing bad is going to happen. And once you feel safe and you're comfortable and you begin to see through your shame and see it differently, now if you like, you can move on to step 2. Once it's easy to imagine expressing your shame to no one, do it. Turn up the music and whisper it under your breath if necessary. Then say it louder and louder until you can shout it out loud without feeling ashamed. Now again, step 2, nobody can hear you. You're in some place where you are completely alone or isolated or whatever, so it's totally safe. But actually saying it out loud, that might make your throat kind of grab and not want to say things as well. And if so, that's a great sign, because that means that you're about to burn through some of these layers of fear and get the fear out of the way so you can live your life better. Now, if you're ready, let's move on to step 3. A little bit more intense, tiny bit more real. Imagine revealing your shame to a trusted friend. Imagine them responding very supportively, such as laughing it off as no big deal and giving you a warm hug, assuring you that they will love you forever no matter what. If you have a decently good friend, and I hope you do, that's the reaction you should expect from them. I mean, if it's really bad, your shame, whatever, maybe they'll be a little shocked, surprised, whatever, but they're still on your side. They're still supporting you. So imagine doing that and format your brain to say, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to be abandoned. I'm still loved. And strengthen that belief, because that's going to help you get through the rest. Ready for step 4? This will be halfway through our steps. We're still in imagination though, so it's very safe. Imagine revealing your shame to increasingly large groups of people who all respond positively until you're shouting it with a megaphone to the entire world. Your secret is now totally out and you have nothing left to hide. Now you might think, imagining, what good does this do? That's too easy. But remember that for the subconscious mind, it doesn't really have this conscious awareness of what's reality and what's not. It has images, And so if you're imagining doing that, that's pretty real on that level. So it'll feel threatening at first, and you'll stretch your comfort zone, and that comfort zone will stay expanded, and your shame will melt away, and you'll begin to feel a little more secure, as I'm sure you should, as is appropriate and supportive for your happiness and success and well-being. All right, number 5. Ready? Oh, number 5 is actually not a step, it's just a pointer. So it's kind of like you get a pass on this one. This is easy. Note that this technique works best when you're not in the middle of a shame spiral, to more easily experience and blend positive feelings. So remember, blending positive feelings is before you start working on any negative, scary, fear, whatever. Get a good grip on feeling hopeful, positive, confident, loved, worthy, and like everything is going to be okay. Generate as much of that as you can, and that really strengthens your position to lift up the negative and transform it more quickly and more easily and effectively. All right, number 6. I hope you're ready, because for the first time now, this actually gets real. And number 6, you're actually going to do something in the real world which could have repercussions. Here we go. Actually tell your shame to people who you trust. Give them a chance to respond positively and prove that it's not as big a deal as you imagined. Whoa, if that scares you, it's okay to jump back to number 4 and practice that a little while longer. But if you've got a little courage and if you really trust some people, be careful. Make wise choices of who you trust, because let's be honest, not everyone can be trusted. A lot of people are fearful themselves. They're judgmental, reactionary, emotional. So if you don't think you can trust someone with this, it's probably not a good person to use for this exercise to get over your own shame. This is not about fixing them and their opinions. It's about releasing your shame so you can get on with living your best life and doing your part. Boundaries, right? Their thoughts and feelings, that's their problem. Yours are yours. All right, but if you got someone like that, that's probably a thrilling moment. And imagine how good you'll feel when they do respond positively and supportively, and they're on your side. And all this worry and shame you've been feeling, it really gets just crushed because you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. That's just fine. So it can be a good experience. Use your judgment. Be careful. Hey, and if you don't have someone like that to talk to, there are phone numbers you can call, or go to some member of the clergy and say, I just need to get this off my chest. I need someone to listen. There are support groups where they're professional, trained people to help listen non-judgmentally and help you work through these things, or go to a counselor, go to a psychologist or something like that, somebody who's trained professional for this. That's totally legit. If this is really hampering your life, get some help, because time is going by and you could be enjoying it so much more. So why wait? Get whatever help you need. All right, number 7. We don't necessarily recommend shouting your shame to the entire world. Not because it's not perfectly normal and okay to have flaws, but because the world is sometimes an insecure, emotionally reactive, stupid jerk who should not be trusted with sensitive information. So, yeah, I think you know what's coming up in number 8. We're actually going to say you can do that if you want. Scary, risky. Number 8, but hey, if you feel that confident and have truly reached the point where you don't care what anybody thinks and you want to go for it, then bravo. Stand up, speak up, and enjoy your empowerment. People may admire your honesty and courage and realize that they too are worthy of love despite imperfections. Maybe you have friends on Facebook like this who actually, for Real Friday, right? They're like, hey, I'm depressed. Hey, I'm anxious. Hey, haven't done the dishes for 3 weeks. Whatever it is, and they're admitting the truth instead of what we often do on social media is try and put out the best image of ourselves and make it look like our life is perfect and everything. So that because in the belief and the false, semi-false belief that if we look perfect, then people will love us. It's not really true, right? People will love you when you're vulnerable and real. Much more likely. They can connect to that. If it's just this surface veneer, this false front we put up, people can't connect to that. So they may, probably what you can do is make them feel bad about themselves instead. So, all right, 2 more paragraphs in this chapter. Let's read these up. Let's finish these up. What you will steadily recognize as you progress through these steps is that nobody really cares about your faults, that they're not as big of a deal as your subconscious mind led you to believe, and that most people are more worried about their own acceptance than whether you're as flawed as everybody else. Furthermore, anybody who can't get over your flaws doesn't really count, because that's not really about you. It's about them and their mentality. If they only loved themselves more, they would also find it easy to forgive you and overlook your faults. So there is chapter 7.43. There are some steps. Please try them. Love to hear how it works for you in the comments below. And I was about to say let me end, but I'm going to read you the next chapter as well. It's a story that kind of illustrates this, and it's kind of funny. I like it. But first, here's a quote by Elbert Hubbard. A friend is someone who knows all about you and still loves you. You should expect this from people. You should expect to be loved. And don't make it one way. Like, you go out and accept and love your friends despite their flaws and be, forgive them, give them some leeway, right? I mean, not if they're, harming you and stuff, then no. You need to set those boundaries. But as far as their own weaknesses and whatever, let's have some patience for them. All right, chapter 7.44, Candor. This is a story. These are some characters ongoing. There's lots of the illustration chapters are about them. This is Brittany and Brian. They're actors in a local theater, and they're starting a new play here. What do you like best about Daphne? Brittany asked as she and Brian strolled through the park after rehearsal one afternoon. Daphne was her new role, an irreverent, ruined party girl who nearly destroys the lives of everyone who loves her. I like her audacity, Brian answered. She does whatever she wants, whenever she wants, to whoever she wants, and never even considers offering any apologies. I actually envy her. I wish I could be that free, though of course I wouldn't abuse my power the way she does. Brittany replied, considering his answer. She was having a little trouble getting into character and hoped to find some angle to help her understand the role more deeply. I don't think I could live with myself if I did half the stuff she does. What about you? Brian asked. What do you like about Tony? He's such a sucker, Brittany replied with a laugh. He's so totally head over heels in love with me that I can get away with whatever I want. Yes, Brian agreed, and that's exactly why love redeems you in the end. Almost. What do you mean, almost? Brittany objected. I'm totally redeemed. I returned the diamonds and everything. Yeah, but you're still a selfish jerk, Brian explained. You just have no reason to treat me poorly anymore. It would take a lot more love to heal that. That's probably true, Brittany nodded. They walked along in silence for a ways, then Brittany blurted out, Help me, Brian, I don't understand her. How can I play her right if I can't stand her? Brian smiled at her and they paused on the path. I think I know exactly what you need, he said. Come here. He took Brittany by the hand and led her onto the grass and up a small hill that provided a view of the park. From there they could see the pond, the soccer field, and dozens of people walking or sitting in the sun. Okay, he instructed. Tell me what you hate most about Daphne. She's selfish, Brittany accused, and heartless and mean. Okay, good, Brian nodded. Now, tell them. He pointed to the people around the park. What? Tell them who you are, Daphne, and remember, you couldn't care less what they think. Brittany grinned and nodded. Not only would this help her get into character, but it would be fun to witness everyone's reaction. She launched straight into the exercise with all the heart she could muster. I am a selfish biatch, she shouted at the top of her lungs. Several faces whirled around to stare at the girl on the hill. I am mean! I don't care about anybody except myself, and I feel no remorse. More faces turned her way, and Brian and Brittany laughed so hard they could hardly stand. As soon as she regained her composure enough to speak again, she continued, I'm a terrible kisser and a horrible singer. I think I'm perfect, but I take myself too seriously, and I'm way too dramatic at everything I do. Brian then joined in as Tony. But I don't care, he shouted. I have no self-worth, and so I am blind to all your faults. I let you treat me like garbage, and I nearly pay for it with my life. Brittany took a deep breath and was just about to start shouting again when a voice from across the park shouted back, I cheat on my taxes, a man yelled. I let my dog poop on my neighbor's lawn, and I vote Republican. That was too much. Brittany and Brian both collapsed to the lawn, laughing so hard that tears streamed from their eyes. Most people ignored them by now, though a few looked amused or mildly embarrassed for them. So, there's an example of shouting your shame to the world. Please give it a try, at least those first steps, imagining telling someone, and melt away some of that fear, some of that emotion that gets in your way of really being happy and successful. And, step by step, unlock your potential and let yourself be your best self, enjoy your best life, and all that. So, thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Ask any questions down below. We'll see you next time. Until then, cheers, Welly.